Hey guys, it's Amy. Welcome back to the Power Network. Today we're talking about Amy Bradley, a woman who was watched, marked, and taken off of a cruise ship. Her brother is finally speaking out after a Netflix docuseries has come out, and what he's saying pulls the lid off of everything the cruise line tried to bury. I'm going to roll credits while the rest of the Power crew wanders in. Oh, and dragonflies. Have you ever floated on one of these cities? Drop in the comments because I really want to know.
Cavalier's drumming his old guitar again. Words rolling out into our fire. If heaven had wings, I would steal them and fly away with you for a while. Hearing the essence of gratitude, your dreamy little smile on my lips. I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day.
Here in the blue, I'm so glad to be back with you on this Friday. Happy Friday. It's my most favorite day of the week. I've got a bad case of the moodiness today, though, you guys. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I'm so everything's bothering me, even myself. I'm even irritating myself. It's one of those days and I can't stand these days. But anyway, we're here doing a live with you and we're talking about Amy. Are you guys cruisers? I've never really been a cruise person. I've never been on an actual cruise. I mean, I've been on like some day cruises, but never where I've gone out into the ocean and cruised around. It's just never been my thing. I know it like disrupts the animals in the ocean and it's really bad for the environment. And I've heard that they're just like lawless cities. Why would I just can't. I'm just not interested in doing it. If it's your thing, it's your thing. But today we're going to take a look at Amy and the pitfalls of cruising. Before we get started, if we could just start that algorithm dance party that I like to do, just start warming up your fingers and dancing them right up to the hearts and thumbs up button. Helps us dance out into the algorithm and party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help us out, and it's really, really, really appreciated. So I've been running around getting ready for today's live, but guess what? Didn't even get sweaty. Why? Because of WILD. I've been using WILD Deodorant because I'm done smearing toxic goo under my arms like it's still 1999. WILD is aluminum-free, refillable, and actually works even when I'm deep in a haunted house or ranting about sociopaths on the internet, because you know I like to do that. So if you want to support this channel and your pits, you can get 20% off your first purchase at WILD Deodorant using our code PARAWOMEN, and the women is plural, so it's MEN. So just go to shopwildrefill.com/ParaWomen and you can get 20% off your first purchase. Any support that you give us is really, really appreciated. And yeah, thank you. And here is the links, and I will put the link in the YouTube show notes. Actually, I will put the link for everything that we watch today in the YouTube show notes. We do this for fair play use and to cite our sources. So let's get into this live about Amy. Who is Amy? Well, Amy Lynn Bradley disappeared in the early morning hours of Tuesday, March 24th, 1998, from a Royal Caribbean International cruise ship, the Rhapsody of the Seas. The night before, Amy said her brother Brad had been dancing at the ship disco on deck 9 with the cruise band Blue Orchid. Returning to the cabin, according to the ship's record, Brad returned to the family cabin at 3:35 a.m., followed by Amy at 3:40 a.m. Last sighting by family, Amy and Brad, her brother, sat talking on their balcony before Brad went to bed, leaving Amy sitting in a lounge chair. Amy's father, Ron, saw her asleep on the balcony around 5:30 a.m. The discovery of her disappearance, when they discovered it, when Ron checked on Amy around 6 a.m., she was gone. Her shoes were in the cabin, but her cigarettes and lighters was missing. There were reported sightings of Amy. The witnesses reported seeing Amy on the upper deck with Alistair Douglas, a band member. I think they called him Yellow. I think his name was Yellow. Between 5:30 a.m. and 5:42 a.m., she was reportedly holding a camera and was handed a dark drink. Douglas was then leaving alone shortly after 6 a.m. So search efforts and other efforts, the ship searched for her between 12:15 p.m. and 1 p.m. They couldn't find her. And she was legally declared dead. Amy was declared legally dead on March 24th, 2010, 12 years after her disappearance, though no physical remains have ever been found. And there is proof and has been reported sightings of Amy. So where is Amy? Did you guys watch the Netflix docuseries? I think everybody's been watching the Netflix docuseries lately. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the intro to the Netflix docuseries that I have seen lately. And so we're going to take a look at this case. Her brother has been doing the rounds around the internet, giving further interviews. And so we're going to also take a look at her brother. We're also going to take a look at the pitfalls and the dangers of cruising and how these cruise ships are basically little lawless cities floating around the water. So let's everything that we watch, like I said, will be down in the YouTube show notes. I don't always watch everything or read everything in its entirety, but I will put them down there, and we do this to cite our sources and for fair play use. Also, this is a daytime live, and so I've got a little bird flying around, and he's really talkative today. So just giving you a heads up. You might hear a little Mickey Mouse voice in the background. I am just struck on how much Amy and her brother look alike. This could be, well, also Amy, when I remember seeing this way back, this case made its round around all the true crime TV channel networks. And I remember watching this case, and I was struck by Amy kind of trying to say this in a PC way. She kind of pinged my gaydar. My gaydar pinged on her. And it turns out in the docuseries that she was exploring and discovering who she was sexually, and she had just come out as gay to her parents, I think before they went on the cruise ship. And during the docuseries, they had a few of her girlfriends come on. So I thought that was very interesting. But to me, this looks just like Amy. So anyway, this is her brother, Brad, that we talked about in the intro.
Some of the hardest stuff. And, even to this day, certain topics of conversation, it's a wrap with the emotions.
Nearly 3 decades later, the disappearance of Amy Bradley is trending in true crime again. Public interest peaking after the release of a new Netflix documentary centered around her. Bradley's case still remains open as the FBI and her family continue searching for her and for answers. Theories and even possible sightings have happened over the years, but still no sign of Amy. This morning, we're asking, what do you believe happened to Amy Bradley? Let's bring in our guests. Who better to talk about this than former United States Attorney William Elin?
For those of you that have watched the series, what do you think happened to Amy? Do you think she fell off the ship? Do you think she was kidnapped? Do you think she was tricked to go off the ship and then was kidnapped? Do you think she was murdered? What do you think happened to her? I personally think she was tricked. She was given that drink and then taken off the ship. And I think she's out there. And I think she could still be out there and possibly can't come home because of the things that maybe she was forced into doing, or they might have her child. You don't know what's going on, but I still think Amy's out there. And so what do you guys think?
Feld and retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. Great to have you both on this. Jen, let me begin with you here, please. What do you think might have happened to her based on the information that the FBI has at this time and that the family has been able to glean at this point in time?
Well, good morning to you both. This is a case where I think Occam's razor really applies, and that is taking the known facts you have and applying it to what is the most likely circumstance. And the fact she was out on that balcony where she was last seen, and I know the family doesn't like to hear this, but I would say she was either accidentally fell over or otherwise went over that balcony, unfortunately.
That is certainly one theory, right? And then another one, I'm hearing people say.
I think it's so interesting, the people that just, she went over the balcony. There was also in the Netflix series, there was a weird neighbor that lived next door to them, that he was cruising all by himself and he was just a weirdo. So there was that too. We're going to, later in the show, the brother, I saw him do a series or an interview. He's been doing a few interviews, and he mentioned Scientology, that Amy was talking to 2 Scientology women. So there's also that possibility that we're going to look into today, I think.
They believe that she was trafficked, that she might have been somehow kidnapped and then put in.
I am so irritable today that woman saying that she fell off the cruise just irritates me. No, it can't possibly be trafficking, where there's literally people saying that they've met Amy off of the cruise ship saying, "I'm Amy Bradley, please help me." But yeah, okay.
To a sex trafficking situation somewhere. William Mielenfeld, what are your thoughts? Do you believe that theory could have any merit based on what we know right now?
I do, yeah. And, this series on Netflix certainly is not a good infomercial for the cruise line industry. It really paints It's
not a good infomercial for the cruise director. If you guys have seen that series, then you know what I'm talking about. I think that cruise director, and this is just all my opinion for entertainment and educational purposes only, I think that cruise director is very shady. He's just like that woman there on the right.
Scary picture about going on a cruise, and that cruise director is the villain of that series. If you have a chance to watch it, they would just.
You just said it. The cruise director is the villain of the series. He's just awful. Sorry, today I'm like my whole being balanced and not hating people is just not there today, you guys. I just think he's an awful human being. Tomorrow I'll probably balance out, but today he was just awful. Awful.
All about business, and they didn't seem very concerned about investigating the fact that they had one of their passengers come up missing. But I do think there's a lot of evidence that would support the possibility that she has become a victim of human trafficking. And one of the things that stood out to me was when her father said towards the end of the series that she might be pulled into something that is called the Stockholm Syndrome, where she's been with her captors for so long that she has developed a relationship with them and isn't quite sure that she wants to leave them. And that's why perhaps
that's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking that they could possibly even have one of her children, or they're holding something over her head. I did do a quick search, and the cruise ship director from Netflix is awful, and it looks like even here over on Reddit people are talking about the cruise director on the Amy Bradley cruise was such an not nice person. I get it. At the end of the day, they are running a business. They are out thousands because they didn't even sorry, I gotta stop because I'm getting into my likes. Whew, catch your breath, Amy. Catch your breath. Stop saying that's annoying. Okay. They didn't even stop the ship from when they docked. They didn't even stop the people from getting off the ship. And the cruise director is like, we can't stop a whole ship full of people just because one person is missing. We can't ruin everybody's day. They spent thousands of dollars just because one person is missing. They are out thousands of dollars if they have to stop the cruise to search for one girl. But this dude was so callous and cold-hearted. We can't do an intercom message because it's 7 a.m. and we can't wake our guests. Really? I'm sorry, but if someone is missing, people's sleeps needs to be interrupted to make sure the person is safe. Wake these arses up. We can't stop a cruise because people made a lot of money for it, paid a lot of money for this. They refused to keep the boat unlocked so that they could interview people, see if anyone knew anything, potentially catch someone in the act of transporting her. So that means you guys, if you guys are missing, they're not going to inconvenience anyone because they paid lots of money. So if you go missing, nah, not on a cruise ship. And they cleaned the room. And are they daft? A literal crime scene. Yeah, they cleaned the room. They cleaned Amy's room. They needed to block it off until they got back to the States or at least a U.S. embassy to figure this all out. They handled this so poorly because they were more concerned after inconveniencing the other customers instead of the life of this poor girl. So those are a few of the things that they were doing on the ship. And Amy was missing, and this cruise director just seemed to think it was okay. What do you guys think? Do you think it's just a business? If you paid a lot of money and someone was missing, that you should be allowed to go about your business? What do you guys think?
Hasn't tried to reunite with her family, but there have been many sightings. The key piece of evidence to me were the photographs that were sent to the family. The FBI did analysis on those photographs of her perhaps being on an adult website, and they believe that it was a match, that the woman in the pictures that was sent to them years after she disappeared matched up with Amy Bradley. So I do think there's a lot of evidence to support that she might be a victim of human trafficking.
I've seen over on TikTok, there's a lot of people comparing these photos of Amy, and they're saying like the ears are different or the nose is different. We're going to look at it a little bit in a few minutes, but I think it's Amy. This photo, there was a woman that was found on an adult website, and Amy had tattoos, and this woman on this adult website was positioned perfectly. So none of those tattoos, it would have never been visible. Like where Amy had the tattoos, it was perfectly, things were perfectly placed or she was positioned perfectly so that the tattoos weren't showing. And I really think it's Amy.
The family is clinging on to that hope that she's still alive, and the series is just heartbreaking to see what they've gone through. But I'm hoping and praying for them that she's still alive and that she comes back home someday.
Oh, I know you are. A great analysis, William. Thank you for that. Yeah, let's talk some more about what her brother Brad had to say about this case, about his sister Amy's disappearance. He said he had some suspicions about a band member playing on the cruise ship. Let's take a listen to that.
The door was open where it hadn't been before, about 18 inches or so, and she wasn't there. One of the shirt that she had on was laid across one of the chairs in the room. The cruise line's key card system doesn't register when you leave the room. It only registers when you use a key to come back in. I was sitting by the pool on the top deck and, exasperated and kind of in shock and realizing, the reality of what was happening. He came up and the first thing he said to me, and keep in mind, this is before any announcements were made publicly. So I'm sorry to hear about your sister.
So the FBI cleared Elisar Douglas. That was just one of the many theories connected to this case by many people interested in what might have happened to her. And some reported sightings on the island of Curacao. So what may come next? Because a Netflix series sure sheds light on the case, as you both know, but doesn't change any existing facts unless somebody comes forward with some information and suddenly things change. Where does the case go from here? What do investigators do next, especially that everybody in the court of public opinion is now talking about it? Jen Coffindaffer, what do you say to that, please?
Well, I think it will be interesting to see, if there are further steps taken. It's so difficult whenever you have a case that is abroad like this, because the FBI has no jurisdiction without the invitation of Carousel in this particular situation. So even our legal attaches, they are truly liaison, and they can provide resources and help. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the investigation of that particular jurisdiction.
Appreciate it, Jen. Okay, so we would need cooperation, from them, the authorities. And what about any information that could be gleaned from the public, or what do you think? Is there any value in maybe trying to go back to anybody else who had been on that ship at this point in time? We're 3 decades later. William Ehlenfeld, ideally, what might you like to see happen in terms of gathering some more information about this case that could possibly help solve things?
So, the fact that Netflix has decided to push this series out, and now it's one of the top viewed series on Netflix right now as we sit here today. So there are going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of eyes placed upon this story. I didn't know anything about this story until it hit Netflix. And I think that's the case for many people. So I think the best hope is that it's going to generate interest in the case. And it's going to raise the visibility of the case, and that people are going to become familiar with it, what she looks like.
I saw Nina, the beauty influencer, over on TikTok talking about this case, and she was talking about how TikTok, do your thing. I think it could be solved. I think if she's out there, I think it's very reasonable to think that Amy could be found. So how long Amy Bradley has been missing and her reported sightings over the year. Netflix new docuseries Amy Bradley is Missing offers new insight into one of the most notorious unsolved disappearance cases and the multiple theories and conspiracies that have been investigated over the years. The disappearance of Amy Bradley on a cruise ship traveling on the Pacific Ocean captured the nation's attention, and despite a widespread search, she has never been found. I'm really shocked that she's never been found, but I guess there's lots of people out there in the world that are missing and they've never been found. So, since her disappearance in 1998, there have been different theories and questions as to what really happened to Amy during a family vacation from Puerto Rico to Caraco. The new 3-part docuseries, which joins Netflix's catalog of documentaries, investigates the multiple theories into her disappearance. Amy Bradley is Missing is one of Netflix's newest true crime series. The Netflix docuseries includes interviews with Amy's family and friends, investigators, and staff members on the cruise ship where she disappeared. Amy Bradley has been missing since March 24th, 1998. Throughout Amy Bradley is Missing, her parents and younger brother provide insight into who Amy was as a person and her plans for the future. The first of 2 children, Amy Lynn Bradley, was born May 12th, 1974 to Ron and Eva Bradley. She was described as a lively individual. She was also described as someone who just lit up the room. Like, she would go into the room and everybody noticed Amy. So it would make sense that Amy would be noticed on a cruise ship because she was lively. And Amy Bradley attended Longwood University, where she graduated with a degree in sports psychology. She had just gotten her own apartment at the time the family went on the cruise. Amy was 2 months shy of her 24th birthday and had accepted a new job at a computer consulting firm once she returned home. She was described as nervous but excited about the cruise, as their entire family would be together. The timeline of Bradley's disappearance on the cruise ship. So on March 21st, 1998, Amy Bradley and her family boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas cruise ship as part of the Royal International Cruise Line from Puerto Rico. In the docuseries, her father, Ron, explained that he received the cruise trip as part of a prize from his job. The cruise was to travel from Puerto Rico to Caraco. There's Amy right there. The timeline of Amy's disappearance: Amy Bradley and her family board the Rhapsody of the Seas cruise ship for a family. The location is San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the date was March 21st, 1998. Amy and her family get professional photographs taken on board of the ship. This is the this is what made my heart drop when I saw this part. Rhapsody of the Sea cruise ship on March 23rd, 1998. So they had their photos taken. Amy and her younger brother Brad attend a pool party on the ship's 9th deck. Rhapsody of the Sea cruise ship, March 23rd, 1998 at 10 p.m. Amy is filmed on camera dancing with Blue Orchid Band member All-Star Alistair Yellow Douglas on the ship on March 24th, 1998 at 1 p.m. Amy's brother Brad Bradley returns to their room on the ship on March 24th, 1998 at 3:35 a.m. Amy returns to their room and goes to sleep on the balcony on the ship on March 24th at 3:40 a.m. So they know all of this because they have key cards. And when anyone keys into the room, then the time is stamped. But when they leave the room, there is no time stamp because they don't use the key card. So we know when people enter the room, we don't know when they leave. So Amy's father, Ron Bradley, wakes up and checks on his children, noting Amy sleeping on the balcony. This is the last verified sighting of Amy. March 24th, 1998, 5:30 a.m. This was also on the ship. Ron Bradley checks on his children again and discovers Amy has disappeared from the balcony. This is on the ship on March 24th, 1998 at 6 a.m. Ron Bradley checks the hulls of the cruise ship searching for Amy without success at 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. As the Rhapsody of the Sea docks, Amy is reported missing to the ship's crew by her family, and they ask that the passengers not be allowed to disembark until she is found. The crew rejected this request, and this is at 6:30 a.m. And it's in the ship, but now they are in Krakow. The ship's crew only makes the announcement of Amy's disappearance when most passengers have already disembarked, and this was at 6:50 a.m. The Rhapsody of the Sea crew conducts a full search of the ship for Amy without success. And I did see that they didn't have other people search the crew members' rooms. They just went in and searched their own rooms. Like, go in and search your room and see if Amy's in there. Okay. But if you're a crew member and you're doing something to Amy, you're not going to know, right? So they conduct a full search of the ship from 12:30 to 1:15 p.m. The Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard and Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines conduct a search for Amy Bradley between Krakow and Aruba, and this is on from March 24th to March 27th, 1998. The Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard and Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines concludes the search on March 27th, 1998. So during the first couple of days of the cruise, Amy was described by her family as happy and engaged in each activity before departure. She took several photographs as part of a competition she hoped to participate in. On March 23rd, Amy had professional photographs taken, which she joked with a photographer who mistook her brother for her partner. In episode 1 of the miniseries, Amy's brother Brad recalls how during dinner, the waitstaff were notably attentive towards his sister and flirting with her. Later that evening, the siblings attended a pool party on the 9th deck where Amy was seen dancing with a man named Alistair, quote unquote, Yellow Douglas, who served as a member of the ship's band. The same man, his daughter is noted in the docuseries. When Alistair came off of the cruise ship, he came back to the home with thousands of white women's pictures. Not Amy. Amy wasn't in there, but thousands of white women's pictures that were taken on the cruise ship. Why do you think he had those? What would he need thousands of pictures? Was he trying to sell women from the cruise ship? Was Amy purchased off of the cruise ship using her photo? I can't see how that other woman would say it's not trafficking, but okay. After searching the corridors, Amy's family reported her disappearance to the crew, but it wasn't until 7:50 a.m. that the staff of Rhapsody of the Seas publicly announced Amy Bradley was missing when most of the passengers had already disembarked the ship. A full search conducted by the crew was also failed to find Amy, leading to her being reported missing to authorities. And here is her missing poster. Hold on. Okay. As shown throughout Amy Bradley is missing, there's been several potential sightings of Amy that were investigated in the years following her disappearance. Amy's father, Ronald, stated that during the initial investigation, he tried to protect his daughter's reputation, but felt that he didn't do enough. In episode 2, one witness named David Carmichael revealed that a young woman approached him on Krakow Beach in August 1998, but was led away by two men before she could speak. Carmichael described the woman as tanned and as a smoker, and believed that it was Amy Bradley due to the tattoo on the woman's shoulder blade. Another potential sighting of Amy took place in 1999 in a brothel. The witness was Navy Petty Officer Bill Hefner, who stated that the woman told him she got off that ship because she was going to score some substances. Hefner didn't report the sighting until 2002 to protect his military career, however. In the Netflix docuseries, the Bradley family revealed that in 2005, they received several photographs of a woman named Jazz from an adult website who bore a striking resemblance to Amy. Her mother, Eva, stated, is it Evie or is it Abby or Eva? Iva. I think it's Abby, I don't know, stated that seeing the photos was a terrible thing and the resemblance took her breath away. An FBI analysis of the photo concluded that the woman was potentially Amy, but the IP address could not be located via the tab. So everybody over on the internet, on the interwebs, is wondering why the FBI didn't try to hire the woman. Why, if you saw the photographs, and this is the photograph, this is one of them. Why didn't you hire Amy off of this ad? And then you could have figured it out. She's gone now. I mean, she's not up, she's gone. But do you think this looks like Amy? I think it looks just like Amy. And I've seen photos where they've put these two together. They've compared her earlobes and her nose and her mouth. Yeah. It's a woman to me that looks like she's had a really hard life. Either way, the woman probably should be saved, right? Even if it's not Amy, we should be trying to save this woman and looking for the women that approached the three people saying, I'm Amy Bradley, please help me. As shown in Amy Bradley is missing, Amy Bradley's family remains hopeful for any information regarding what actually happened to their daughter and sister. Throughout the docuseries, they continuously highlight Amy's energetic and loving personality, and that they will one day receive the true answers to her mysterious disappearance. So I thought we'd go in and look at the people who created this docuseries. Then we'll go in and look and see what else her brother has to say. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up, guys. Helps me go out into the algorithm, party out there, bring more people back. It's just a free way to help me out, and it's really, really appreciated.
The story of Amy Bradley, who was 23 years old when she disappeared mysteriously while on a cruise on a family vacation back in 1998. And now, almost 30 years later, her disappearance still remains unsolved. It is still a mystery. So to start off the conversation, how did this story come across your desk? How did you know, I need to tell this story, A, and B, right now, how did you think now was the time that I need to put a spotlight back on Amy Bradley?
Yeah, good question. Look, it's I work in true crime a lot. I like working on things that have substance and that matter. And you know, what's really changed technologically, well, a lot of things have changed, but when it comes to TV shows, is the ability for these streaming platforms to reach many, many people in many, many countries. And so, I had always known about the Amy Bradley case. Sort of, if you're in the sort of true crime world, you probably heard of this one because of its uniqueness. And so I reached out to the parents, and they were kind enough to have me over for dinner in Southern Virginia. I flew down there from LA or across, and you know, it became very clear to me that there's a lot here, and it became very clear to me that the substance is there. And what I mean by that is they needed help. They've been living in this hell for 27 years, and while sort of glimmers of answers have come forward, and just enough to keep them hanging on to hope has emerged, they really haven't gotten any semblance of real, tangible, here's what happens, really by any means. And so the notion that you can put these stories out there on streaming platforms to all those many, many millions of people in 90 plus countries gives these families an opportunity to really see if we can shake some trees, you know, shake something loose. And that's really what this was ultimately about. So you asked, you know, how I came to it, why I'm doing it. It's because we have an opportunity with these unsolved cases to put something out there that's really high-end, smart, accurate, well-researched, and hope that by reaching this many people, something could come back on the other side.
And to your point, if you are someone who is active in the true crime space, you've heard of Amy Bradley. I first heard of the story back in 2019 when Crime Junkie dropped their episode on it. So what do you do? What's the research process like? Talk to us a little bit about that, because it is a case that is essentially cold right now. It's almost 30 years old. What's the research process? Are you just diving into every podcast, every true crime piece of content that dissects the case years later? Are you going back to the original reporting from 1998 on? Are you going just directly to the source? You talk to the family. Are you talking to other witnesses? Are you talking to the detectives? What does that research process really look like?
Well, you cast a really wide net when you're trying to research an unsolved case. And the reason is, I mean, you always want to cast a wide net if you can, but particularly in these types of cases, the files are not publicly available from law enforcement, right? And so because the case isn't adjudicated, technically, we actually don't have access to all the information that, say, the FBI has. So we're really kind of launching our own investigation while the FBI is cooperating with us.
Sorry, I muted myself. That's an interesting point right there, because I think because it was on international waters, they don't have the police records like a normal missing persons case would. Very interesting.
There's only so much they can release to us. So what we're doing is we're basically talking to everyone and using our sort of like spidey sense and, you know, experience to determine, okay, what is really real here. And so witnesses, huge, right? Eyewitnesses that we can get to go on camera is massive. That's one. Two, obviously all family members, but certainly also friends and community people who maybe knew Amy.
They had quite a few witnesses and quite a few people on camera. Oh, and before we look at the brother, I did want to take a quick peek at Kendall Ray's take on all of this. She's one of my favorite true crime reporters, and she did this 7 years ago. So Kendall Ray was ahead of the game 7 years ago. Let's see what she has to say about it. And then we'll go into the brother.
Channel, and welcome back to another episode of Where It Is. If you are new to my channel or to Where It is a series where I talk about different missing persons cases that have remained unsolved, and just kind of get some of the information out there, get the names and faces, you know, just raise awareness about the cases, and a lot of them are really, really very interesting. And the case that we're going to be talking about today definitely was the one case that really got me into missing persons stories. This is a story of Amy Bradley, and Amy Bradley went missing in the 90s. And I've known about this story.
That's interesting that this is the case that got Kendall Ray into true crime. Very in missing. Well, she didn't say true crime. She said missing persons. So, okay.
since probably like sophomore year of high school. So I've been very, very into this case for a long time. It totally is what inspired me to start this series. I'm surprised I haven't done it yet, but I wanted to just like really make sure I did a thorough job, actually took time researching, not just like throw a bunch of random stuff out there that I read online. So I tried my best to sort through all the information online because there is so much on this case, but I think you guys are going to find this one very fascinating, and it has a possibility of still being solved. And if you haven't seen one of my Where Is videos, you probably wouldn't know that
Okay, let's move it forward.
we're going to go on this cruise that Ron had actually just won through work. It was actually supposed to be just for Ron and Iva, but they decided to take Amy and Brad. Amy was kind of nervous to go on the boat.
Okay, so I bet you the parents regret that. These are the little things and tragedies that you probably think about over and over again. Like, if I had only not taken them, you know, and I bet they wish they knew the dangers that young women face on cruise ships, because we're going to take a look at that in just a moment. But it seems like the trafficking on a cruise ship, people just need to be as safe as you would out in public in the world. People get this false sense of security on cruise ships, and it's just like you're like in a mini city. So yeah.
But actually, she was a little bit afraid of the water, a little bit afraid of planes and traveling in general, just gave her a little bit of anxiety. And this is back in 98. People didn't travel as easily, I don't think, or as often as younger people travel now. This was towards the end of March, and Amy was so excited about it that she decided to go tanning for weeks up until they left. So she was all dark, nice and tan, ready to go relax on the beach with her family, was looking forward to it. And she and Brad were really, really close, actually, for brother and sisters. Like, really, really close, hung out together, enjoyed their time together, really were very closely bonded siblings.
I'll always be there for you. I love you, little brother.
Hey.
She had just graduated in 1996 from Longwood College, and she was actually a star basketball player there who went there on scholarship. In fact, she was the first scuba diving. And he said that he and his group of scuba divers were cleaning their gear.
We're over in a small area where we wash off the equipment in fresh water.
And saw a woman on the beach walking with two men kind of walking right behind her.
I looked down the beach and I saw a girl walking down the beach with being flanked by two people.
And he said that as soon as the woman heard he was speaking English, she ran towards him.
She picked up her pace and was putting distance between her and the two people that were flanking her.
Just as the young woman was about to speak, the two men caught up to her and pulled her into a nearby cafe. David decides to follow them.
Something went off in my brain to tell me gather more information about this person.
Do you think that was Amy?
David notices a scar on the woman's right shin, and she also seems to be pointing out several tattoos. She has a Tasmanian devil on her left shoulder blade.
The credibility is unquestionable.
The family didn't think that the FBI and the authorities were helping them enough, so they decided to take matters into their own hands and hired their own special forces.
This is a guy that presented himself as a special forces guy that's rescued people like this.
According to Jones, operations like these take time and tens of thousands of dollars. The Bradleys are more than willing to pay.
Crazy thing with Frank Jones is he kept asking them for money, and it was actually Ron's boss that was giving them the money to help, you know, keep the investigation going. And he claimed that he was pretty sure she was in sex trafficking. He was staking out clubs. He was doing all he needed to do to extract her.
Jones and his team of reconnaissance experts conduct operations in Curacao, staking out suspected brothels and drug dens, ultimately concluding Amy is still alive and is being held on the island. They send the Bradleys surveillance photos.
Some of the shots were Amy's tattoo on her ankle. Another shot was her facing away and a tattoo on her shoulder. She stood like Amy. She was built like Amy. And so we thought it was Amy.
And he kept asking for money, and they kept giving it to him. After a little while, he said, okay, I am ready to extract her. I know where she is. I know how to do it. I just need $100,000. And Ron's boss said he would give him the money. But before that, he wanted someone to go down there and check on what he was doing.
He called us saying that Frank Jones is down here drinking rum and having a good time, and with absolutely nothing going on concerning Amy.
When they got there, they were super, super surprised. Frank Jones had been doing nothing the entire time. He had been drinking on their dime, pretending, like making stuff up. In fact, he had sent them photos of Amy on the beach and showed her tattoos because she had a couple different tattoos. She had a tattoo of a baby Tasmanian devil spinning a basketball on her shoulder. She had a sun on her lower back, a Chinese symbol on her right ankle, and a gecko lizard on her navel. He literally had someone dress up in like an outfit that sort of looked like Amy's, put a fake tattoo on her and everything, and posed it on the beach. The whole thing was fake. The family had been wasting all this time and money on him, and he was persecuted and dealt with. He's, I think, locked up still, and thank God, because wow, what a piece of shit. Can you imagine?
Wow, that is what a piece of shit. So you can see that the family has been through the ringer. They've been through it. And here's a recent interview with Amy's brother that we're going to look at. It just looks just like Amy. It's just so wild how siblings look just like each other.
Still looking and talking to other people. I'm sitting at a table by myself, adjacent to where the pool was, and realizing that this is bad.
It's a mystery that has haunted a Central Virginia family for more than a quarter century. In the spring of 1998, a young woman named Amy Bradley took a Caribbean cruise with her parents and brother. Early one morning, she vanished without a trace. Now, Amy's story is the subject of a new Netflix docuseries. Today, we sit down with her brother, the one who went on that cruise, for a captivating interview about the strange and disorienting days that followed the disappearance, the theories as to what really happened, and why he is convinced that his sister is still out there all these years later. Well, welcome to Untold. We are here with Brad Bradley. Thank you so much for being here. I know you've been making the rounds.
It's okay. Thank you for having me.
Doing a lot of media on this story. As we've set up in our intro, you are the brother of Amy Bradley, the subject of a recent Netflix documentary. And we're going to get into it today. We're going to talk about the story of how your sister went missing, and also the theories of whether she may be out there. Maybe she's alive. Maybe she was kidnapped. Maybe she left willfully. Maybe she didn't. Lots of unanswered questions, but I think you're probably one of the best people to speculate on what's real in this story. So if you've watched the Netflix documentary, you are now getting the untold version, the behind the scenes version. And we'll start out, just tell us sort of the scenario of this cruise. It was 1998. It was a family trip. Mm-hmm. Everybody was excited.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a family trip initially. My parents work in the insurance business, and they had qualified through their production for the year for.
I'm going to move us forward because we've already covered the intro to the case. So we all know what's happening there.
On Curacao, because there was an ongoing water search in the canal at the mouth of the island where the canal starts. They had scuba divers and boats with radar and planes and helicopters, and even the ships, right outside the island were doing these grid patterns, searching every inch of the water. And they said, if Amy's found in the water, you want to be there. Mm. So we said, well, yeah. Okay. So we got off the boat. The president of my dad's company at the time and his wife were there, and they got off the boat with us to help us. We were in no condition to handle a whole lot or make decisions or figure out what to do. So they, got us a room in this hotel on the waterway.
Where you were just waiting for information and people to communicate with you.
Yeah, we were calling family. My mom was on the phone with her brother trying to get the FBI involved and to get them on the ship, and which my uncle facilitated, by the way. And I'll get into when that happened later. And it was a bad scene.
Yeah,
I'm sure. A lot of crying. My dad was so upset. He was throwing up and vomiting blood at one point. He was not in good shape. Mom was in a fetal position on the bed. Oh. We contacted my girlfriend at the time, Erin, who's in the documentary, and let her know what happened. And we're kind of just talking to the family who I think by that time had all convened at the house. Mm-hmm. And so
at this point, I mean, in your mind, there's
really heartbreaking. I can't even imagine. I mean, a loving, normal family, that's like the reaction to every family, fetal position, throwing up, your only daughter. Well, I don't know if it's their only daughter, but their daughter's missing and they're on vacation. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
The water, but in your mind, was there any chance that she had jumped or fallen? Was there any?
No.
Okay, so you're seeing them do this, thinking to yourself, like,
well, the only way that I thought possibly that she was in the water if someone threw her off the boat.
Right.
But again, we're not in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
We're in a place where you're right at the mouth of the island. You're right at the island, and there's tugboats coming up to hook up to pull you through the canal.
There's activity, and
the sun is up.
Right.
Right. So, or it's coming up. It's sunrise, and so no. To answer your question, she 100% didn't jump off the boat. not only because she wasn't a distraught person. I know some parts of the Netflix documentary and some of the sentiments online was that she was gay and struggling with it. Amy wasn't struggling, in my opinion. It was well known for years.
Yeah, they did make it out to seem like she was gay and struggling. And was that possibly why she jumped? Because her parents were deeply disappointed in her. But then, I mean, they had 2 of her girlfriends come on the docuseries. So she, you know, it seems like if you had 2 full ass girlfriends, you've been you've been dating for a while. So I don't know.
I think the Netflix documentary makes it seem like she had just come out to us prior to going on the cruise. She came out to Mom and Dad and me in 1995. So it had all been
that makes better sense.
Water under the bridge. I mean, we were one of the tightest families and closest families you will ever know.
That's what all the friends and families, or all the people that were kind of friends, but boyfriend and girlfriends, or people that were just friends, they were like, the Bradleys were the tightest family that we knew. They just loved each other and they loved being with each other. I mean, they went on a vacation together as adults. I mean, Amy was 24 years old. You know, when a family vacations together as adults, that means they like each other, or that you're like truly obligated to your family, which I hope that's not the truth, but usually it means they like each other.
Guys' relationship were like best friends. Mom and Dad, all that stuff about her having any type of contentious relationship with my parents in regard to that is total BS. So she had just graduated from college. She had just gotten a new apartment. She had just gotten a puppy English bulldog, which she had wanted her whole life. She was writing postcards to friends, making plans when they got home. She was taking tons of photographs, was going to enter some sort of photography contest when she got home. So she had no plans other than returning home and continuing on with her new job she had just gotten, all these things. So 0 chance she jumped, 0 chance she ran away, and 0 chance she accidentally fell over. Be as drunk as you want to be. If you're 5'6", you're not going to accidentally fall over a 4-foot tall rail. And I don't know exactly how tall.
Is there any chance that she was offered rugs and got off of the ship to go get them and then was taken? I hope they get into that.
Yeah, but they're like up to my armpits.
Right.
Especially when you wouldn't even get close to the rail at any point during the cruise. I don't know if I mentioned this in our previous conversation.
She had a bit of a fear of the edge of the.
Oh, she wouldn't come near it. When we first got on the boat, I'm leaning over the rail on the 8th story, looking straight down at the water. Like, oh my God, come look at this. And she was like, nope.
No, thanks.
Wouldn't even walk towards the rail. So in no scenario did she accidentally fall over. Did she climb?
I'm going to call shenanigans though. If she was so afraid of being that close to the edge, why would she fall asleep outside? I don't think she would fall asleep outside because those balconies aren't that big. So just going to call shenanigans on that one.
I'm on the rail. I know the Netflix thing kind of made it seem like the FBI said maybe there was a table pushed up against there she could have climbed on. Didn't happen. So no. But there was one possibility that she was thrown over.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If she fell over, I would suspect that man in the docuseries that was their neighbor that was a little shady. So.
And I guess that's what at the time when they're doing the water search, that's the only possibility that we could have possibly had in mind.
I mean, I find myself sighing as you're telling the story because I'm stressed just hearing your stress. It must have been horrifying. It's literally, I mean, to be in that environment, first of all, it's unfamiliar. You don't know anybody. Your family's not there. You're in the middle of a trauma and people are drinking pina coladas next to you. I mean, that's like it's just, they don't go together. You know what I mean? And you're trying to process all of this. And I'm sure, I mean, at least it seemed from the documentary, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the cruise line, Royal Caribbean, was not in any, great way trying to help you guys. I mean, the delay of the message because people were sleeping, and then sort of just generally wanting to suggest that she probably jumped. Am I wrong there?
They like, get off the ship, we have to leave and go to the next island kind of thing.
Yeah. I just mentioned this because of the cruise director's comment about, look, you quoted it because I'm sure you've seen it multiple times, but he said something to the effect of, look, we can't ruin thousands of people's vacations just because one girl went missing. I mean, that hit me, and she's not my family. You know what I mean? That was a striking comment to make.
Yeah. Life goes on, cruises go on.
But
Apparently. Yeah.
Do you think that was the mindset? Do you think he was accurately reflecting what the mindset was at that point?
Yeah, I don't think they had, we made an analogy that if at the time Clinton was president, Bill Clinton, and of course he was, because Hillary never was. But anyway, Bill Clinton was president, and we made the analogy that if Chelsea Clinton had been missing, that boat would have been anchored in the same spot until she was found.
Yeah.
They wanted us off that boat. They wanted to move on. They were interested in
preserving the vacation of the
and
rest
preserving
of
their liabilities.
Right. So when you got off, they went on with their scheduled departure. On time departure. So like nothing really for the rest of those passengers on the boat. I mean,
and nobody really knew what was going on.
Right.
I don't think it was until we got back on the boat a day and a half later, we flew to, I think it was St. Martin or St. Thomas. I don't recall, but we reboarded the ship because my uncle had again facilitated the FBI boarding. Interpol was involved when we got back on the ship. Attorneys were present, introducing themselves as risk management, which as a 21-year-old, I had no clue what that was. I didn't know I was talking to their attorney.
Right.
But they made sure they were standing front and center by the time we got back on the boat. I don't know if you want to go.
So they also made the point that there were no police officers. It was hired people, hired guards by the cruise ship. So there is no police on a cruise ship. It's just hired people that answer to the cruise ship, who answers to a corporation. So that's who they were dealing with.
Go into what happened in that hotel room.
We'll get into that in chapter 2 with theories. We're going to get into the theory part, and I promise we will. But so you're in Curacao. This massive search doesn't turn up anything.
Right. The Coast Guard and the local authorities confirm she's not in the water.
No clothing of hers washes up.
Nothing.
Right. Right.
And so they say, okay, she is not here. So we say, okay, well, let's get back on the boat because we're not done with them. And so the president of my dad's company at the time chartered a jet for us to fly to catch up with the boat, who had again gone on to either St. Martin or St. Thomas. I think it was St. Martin.
That must have felt so weird.
I just want to stop this for 1 second and see if she has. No, she doesn't have place marks in there.
To get back on that boat.
Yeah.
It must have felt horrible.
It did. But we're like, she's not in the water. She's possibly still on that boat.
So while they were off the boat, they cleaned their room. Isn't that interesting?
Determined to get the
we're
answers.
Getting back on there, and we know the FBI is coming on board, and we're going to have some help this time. So we get back on the boat, and by that time, I think they were just about to hang pictures of Amy in public areas and make the announcement that the passenger had gone missing. What transpired next?
For 2 days, they hadn't really done anything letting people know that Amy was missing. The family was off the boat, and they were just cruising like normal. Can you imagine? Ugh.
Was interviews, separated interviews, because I think initially, I guess we were treated as suspects. So they interviewed me separately. They interviewed dad separately. They interviewed mom separately. They brought in, Yellow. And I remember him coming out of his interview. Oh, and by the way, his attorneys sat in on our interviews, which I don't think you can do or you're supposed to do. Anyway, so Yellow comes out of his interview, high-fiving his buddies, smirking, and dad almost took his head off. It took a few of us to kind of hold him back from going after him because, again, he was suspect number one from the beginning. But he was super cocky and arrogant, and he came out of there like, no problem, and we believed otherwise. So after all those interviews went by and all that kind of stuff, obviously we didn't want to stay on the boat, and we decided to fly directly home from St. Martin or St. Thomas. I forget which one. But hold on, before then, Mom and I try to retrace steps early in the morning. The next morning, we're up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, we're not sleeping, and we come out of the room, go down the hallway, and Crystal Roberts and Lori Rennick run up to us in a panic. And they're like, oh my God, we saw Amy go up the glass elevator with yellow up to the nightclub at like 5:30, 5:45 or whatever it was. And they're breathless. They're like, they've seen a ghost and they've been looking for us and trying to tell us. And in my life. And I spun around with zero question. That was Amy yelling my name.
Mm.
Resorts with nobody around.
Mm.
I mean, there's no staff. You see, there's this whole casino going on. There's this bar. There's all this staff, but no guests anywhere.
No guests.
Like
Wow.
nobody. And so we look around and nothing happens. And that one of those nights, I don't know which it was, and they portrayed it incorrectly in the docuseries. While they're telling the story of me hearing Amy call my name, we're sitting at a busy intersection at a stoplight. We're not on a backcountry
Wasn't
road
like you passed
filled with
by.
bushes.
Okay.
And this single car goes by us. So we're sitting their night than they have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But there were other pictures of her that was like, doesn't really look like the same, that kind of thing.
Right.
But, again, the FBI did determine that they believed that was actually her.
So we have the sightings. We have this photo that's tied to an escort service in like Barbados, right? Like in Curacao. It was all down there in the islands, right?
I don't know whether it was Venezuela. It was
somewhere in that region.
And it's kind of hard to track the way they do those websites.
On purpose.
Yeah,
It's not right. And all the while the years are passing by, you're repeatedly being reminded of her and the possibility that she's still out there. And then I want to touch on this other unexplored theory that Netflix did not get into. And we don't have to go into great detail about it, but I do want to mention it because I think the fact that you told Netflix about it and they didn't include it, and it's something that's rattling around in your brain as an unexplored possibility is...
And I've told everybody about it and no one discovered it.
Yeah, well, let's cover it. So you mentioned that the night that...
So I believe this is the Scientology part he's about to tell.
I guess night/morning that Amy disappeared, when you were at the pool party, that Amy was having a pretty lengthy, 45 minutes is a long time to talk to strangers, conversation with two women that were uniformed, not in Royal Caribbean uniforms, but in some other type of like naval looking attire.
Right. And they matched each other. Two black ladies. I don't know whether they were American or Islanders or anything like that. My parents seem to recall that they picked up on some accents, so that we assumed that they were...
Your parents saw them too. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So both of you can confirm that she was having this conversation with these two women. You said maybe 45 minutes in length of time. You've later determined that those women were from the Church of Scientology and were part of the Sea Org organization that had a ship docked there in Curacao right next to the Royal Caribbean ship. Is that accurate?
Part of that's correct. I cannot say that I confirmed that they were from that ship.
Okay.
What I did say earlier is that after we returned home to Virginia, because of our interactions that I'll explain further here in a minute, I did a lot of research on Scientology, and specifically the ship called the Free Winds, which is the home base of what's called the Sea Org, or Sea Organization for Scientology, headquartered in Curacao.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the majority of the time that boat is there, although they go to Aruba, they go to Barbados.
And when you did research on these uniforms,
yeah,
you
and the
made that connection.
and the uniforms that I saw on the ship from years past pretty much matched exactly what those two ladies were wearing.
But your connection to this goes beyond that, because later when you guys had left the ship and were in Curacao while they were doing that extensive grid search, and while you mentioned it was a really bad time, your dad was throwing up, everybody was distraught, you had asked for some assistance from your dad's boss at the time to find a minister or someone in religious service that could kind of guide you guys through this.
Mom wanted a priest to come pray with us and talk to us. Now, it was fairly late at night. It was probably after 10 when we made the request. Either the U.S. consulate or embassy in Curacao apparently reached out to local churches trying to find someone to come talk to us, and they could not. So my dad's boss, contacted us and said, look, they can't find, there's no priest available to come speak with you. So, about 20, 30 minutes later, right around midnight, and this is the midnight after Amy disappeared, 2 men knocked on the door. We opened the door. They're standing in what looked like naval officer attire, captain's hats and shoulder brass and, whatever, all the stuff, and introduced themselves as officers from the Scientology ship called the Free Winds. And we're like, okay, come on in. And they basically explained to us that they have processes and methods to help people who are.
So they asked for priests and they went and got them 2 Scientologists. Oh my God. I don't know why I think that's so funny.
Dealing with loss and grief and those types of things. And they wanted to talk to us about Amy. So we let them in the room. We're sitting around in the room, and they explained some of the ways that they do things to kind of preface what they were about to go through with us. And ultimately what it was an interview of sorts where they started out by saying, and we all did this one after the other in repetition. They say, now that you've lost Amy, tell us about something you haven't lost or something you still have. So we say, now that we've lost Amy, we still have each other. We still have our family at home. We still have our friends. We went through this exercise for a few minutes and took our turns each doing it. And then the conversation shifted to, well, tell us about Amy. What did she like to do? What were her favorite things? Did she drink alcohol? What was her favorite beer? Did she smoke cigarettes? What was her brand of cigarettes that she liked to smoke? What was her favorite snack?
This is so creepy. Why are they finding all this information out about Amy? Is this how they were going to handle Amy and maintain her? Get all the info about her?
Extremely specific things, which to us at the time seemed like an exercise in remembrance. But
looking back now, you're suspicious because you feel like they were collecting information.
Oh, for sure. That's my opinion. I don't.
And did your parents?
Are you guys suspicious? Do you think this seems weird that they asked for a priest, but were given 2 Scientologist Sea Org people that come in and grill them about what Amy liked, what she did, what kind of person was she? That's weird.
Do your parents feel that way too now about the exercise? They feel
they do.
Yeah.
They learned an awful lot about Amy, very specific things that night.
I have to question.
Not only that, they had all these photos of Amy. So now they have all these photos of Amy, and now they have all of Amy's information, what she likes, what she doesn't like, what she drinks, what she smokes. So like they could show up with her favorite drink and her favorite smokes and say these things to her that make her feel comfortable. Oh, geez, this is horrible. This is exactly how I felt when I was watching the Netflix series and I saw that they were taking pictures of Amy. And then when Amy went to go buy the pictures, they were just missing. They didn't have them. And so they were like, well, can you take pictures? Can you just make them from the negative? And they're like, yeah, sure. But somebody else had taken her picture off of the wall.
Earlier that the Royal Caribbean, staff was in your.
They want us to believe all these coincidences and that these are just all coincidences. And she just actually jumped into a bay full of people that would have seen her jump. But yeah, that's what happened.
Reviews.
Yeah, they're attorneys, not just their staff.
Yeah. I mean,
so basically said, here come the Bradleys again. And I don't know when they contacted their legal team to get on the boat. And
I just find that to be, professionally speaking, and from an investigative standpoint, there should really not be corporate interest in the room while you're conducting an interview
with the FBI.
No. Generally, like that's just I'm stunned to hear that. If that,
I think their main focus was eliminate liabilities. The cameras don't record; they monitor. They have their attorneys on the boat. They request the ship's videographer to hand over his master tape, so there's no evidence of Amy being seen with anybody. Whether they removed Amy's photos from the photo gallery when we went to get them, or Yellow removed those photos, or whoever did, there seemed to be really no real effort to help us. They wanted us, in my opinion, off the boat and gone, and so they could move on. You know, cruises go on. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't, but the cruise director certainly felt that way, it seems. Yeah. So this is a good spot to take a break, and we're going to talk about what's next. Just probably no better way to get attention. I mean, the true crime, appetite in the world and people watching documentaries, I mean, it becomes, obsessive. And I think, to have that spotlight on this story can only yield more information.
And the biggest spotlight we've ever had.
Yeah. But does it, after all this time, I imagine it's still excruciating to have to recount this over and over again. And I appreciate you doing it for me. I say that with gratitude. But do you, and I know you mentioned your dad and your mom still firmly believe that in your heart, Amy is alive. Do you feel more hopeful now that this story has been put in a national spotlight that you might find her?
Yeah, I mean, the hope kind of wanes over the years when there's big gaps in anything happening. I think I'm, almost the most hopeful I've ever been since this thing happened.
Just because so many people are talking about it.
Yeah, and it's it's international, it's worldwide. When we did Unsolved Mysteries or America's Most Wanted or Dr. Phil or any of that, I don't know whether those things are aired in the islands or overseas or whatever, but this is going to be in over 140 countries, and I don't know how many millions of people are going to see it. I've always maintained, we've always felt and known that obviously someone or some people know what happened. They know something. And, my dad made a mention of some person saying, or it might've been my mom, where people can't keep secrets forever. And maybe now after 27 years, someone may see how much love there is for Amy and decide it's time to say something, and whether it leads us to Amy and we find her, which we realize is low probability, but still some chance, or it leads us to the people responsible where there can be some closure or some accountability on what actually happened. Either way, obviously the former being preferable, we get some answers.
Well, I think you can feel the love from, watching the interviews with your parents and from sitting here across from you. It doesn't seem like you're talking about her in the past. It seems
we never have.
Yeah.
Never have.
I mean, it seems like when she comes home, and that feeling that you have, that's sort of like instinctual, that you feel she's still present is, it's obvious that you all really loved her. And I'm glad that the story's getting air. I'm glad that it's seeing light. I'm curious if you'll share with us later what happens, because I know there's going to be a part 2 and a part 3 of this.
Yeah.
I mean, and I too think, it won't be without movement. Like you can't do something this big and not.
Yeah, you can't do something this big. And I see here that the brother did another interview with Barstool Chicago. So he's going on pretty large channels and making the rounds, which I would too. I would take a full advantage of this situation where you can get your story out there to a larger audience. So I want to finish up this show looking at how many people go missing on cruise ships every year and how dangerous really are cruise ships. So for millions of vacationers each year, cruise ships represent a floating paradise, a chance to escape everyday life and explore new destinations. Unfortunately, the very elements that draw us to cruise ships, the sense of freedom, the relaxed atmosphere, and the international waters that seem to exist outside the bounds of everyday rules, can also attract those with darker intentions. For some families, that has resulted and an unimaginable tragedy. The disappearance of passengers or crew members is a nightmare scenario, whether you're a Florida resident preparing for your next cruise or someone who sailed before. You might wonder just how common are these disappearances? How many people vanish from cruise ships each year? It's a chilling question with some unsettling answers. The unsettling stats are, let's start with the numbers. As difficult as they may be to face, over the past 2 decades, it's estimated that more than 200 passengers have vanished from cruise ships. That's an average of 10 people per year, a small number compared to the millions who cruise annually, but a devastating statistic for the families involved. Each of these 200 represent a life interrupted, a family left searching for answers. In 2010, a ray of light perceived the fog of uncertainty. The U.S. Department of Transportation began maintaining an archive of cruise line incident reports. This moves towards transparency. So, how many people go missing on cruise ships every year? We're left with an unsatisfying answer. We don't know for sure. The estimates range from about 19 to 25 people annually. These figures are just that, estimates. So, it sounds to me like they're not even really keeping track of these people either. Someone like Rebecca Curran, a 24-year-old British crew member who vanished from the Disney Wonder in 2011 as it sailed off of the coast of Mexico. Her case still unsolved highlights the complexities and heartbreak of these situations. So it looks like, here they're talking about other people that went missing, and the risks are there that accidental falls happen. There's the people unaliving themselves, the mental health issues, don't take a vacation, and sadly, individuals choose to end their lives at sea. There's foul play, there's medical emergencies, there's disorientation. So I did find a video that talks a little bit more about this. Sorry, I'm paying attention to Junie. He's doing something. I need to get a video going so I can go get him. So this is a video here with the dark seas, what happens when cruising goes wrong. Now, keep in mind that this is Australia, but it's the same as, once you get out there in the seas, it's the same thing. was a mess during the whole cruise thing, wasn't it? During COVID. I remember that cruise ship that had all those people that had COVID on it and they were just like filming themselves and they were just stuck there, I think, for seemed like a month or something. Let's keep going forward. Let's get past the COVID stuff. Oh. Did you guys know that the flag that was flying on the ship is the one where the rules or the laws were, the nation that makes the laws are on board of the ship? I didn't know that. Did you? Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Wow. Wow. He said your risk of being assaulted is greater on a cruise ship than just staying at home. And where I think people get that false sense of security where they think they're safer on a cruise ship. It sounds like we're going to get another story like Amy's. So we're just going to move forward past this and see what else is going on cruise ships. Well, here we go. Here's another unaliving on a ship, and they're doing no investigation. They're just continuing to go on and cruise because, you know, everybody paid all that money to cruise. So they can't stop now. They got to keep it going. And also, it's just really bad for the environment, the cruising. It's just Here's a report on it. Cruise ships kill whales, leak gray water, and largely are exempt from U.S. taxation. When they violate the law, they pay the equivalent of a parking ticket. So decades ago, when I woke up as a ranger in Alaska's Glacier Bay National Park, each cruise ship that entered the bay carried hundreds of passengers. Today, they carry thousands. They don't look like ships anymore. They look like the boxes the ships came in, huge floating milk cartons, ponderous and white. But once they get moving, they're a force. Once that they occasionally strike whales. In July 2001, the carcass of a humpback whale known as Snow, due to the white markings on her fluke, was found floating in the bay. An investigation concluded she had died of massive trauma to her skull and cervical vertebrae, consistent with a vessel collision. Princess Cruise Lines, purchased by Carnival in 2003, eventually pleaded guilty to failing to operate its vessel, the Dawn Princess, at a slow and safe speed while near humpback whales, violating both the Marine Mammal Protection Act and the Endangered Species Act. Passengers and crew had spotted humpbacks near the ship, but the ship didn't change course or speed. Pursuant to a plea agreement, Princess was sentenced to pay $200,000 fine plus $550,000 to the National Park Foundation for community service. Like, that's nothing. Since then, the ships have increased in size. So they're just bad for the environment, and they're dangerous. What do you guys think? Are you guys cruisers? I don't want you to, I'm not trying to make you feel bad if you are, because I have friends and family that like to cruise too, but it's just never been my thing. Just seems kind of dangerous and bad for the environment. And I couldn't do what I do on a boat, like somewhere else. Like you can fly over to a like, I think we went to a timeshare in Mexico before, and you can do all that, and I don't need to float around. Also, I have like this fear of sinking. Growing up, the Titanic was always a fascination to me, and I sometimes watch sinking ship docuseries, and so it's just not my thing. But what do you guys think about Amy? Do you think Amy jumped? Do you think she was pushed? Do you think she was drugged and dragged off the ship? Do you think she's still alive? Let me know. Put your answer down in the comments, because I would really like to know. Be sure to support our sponsor for today's show, WILD Deodorant. You can get 20% off your first purchase at WILD Deodorant using our code PAIRWOMEN with the link. I will put the link up on screen, and I will also put it in the comments. And yeah. Thank you for all your support and all your love. And if nobody's told you this today, and even if they have, I am still going to tell you guys this. I love you guys so, so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. If you're not subscribed, why are you not subscribed? I would really, really, really love to have you as a power subscriber. If you really like my content, be sure to become a Dragonfly, and that's our membership, and it's $2.99 a month. I release all my videos early. We have special emojis over in the chat room. I kind of share things ahead of time with my Dragonflies, and I go live sometimes just for the Dragonflies. It's a way that I can support you guys and give you more content, and it's a way for you to support our channel. It's $2.99 a month, and I would love to have you.
I miss my cube, baby, I had you. Miss my cube, but I had you for that day. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep.
Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps me go out into the algorithm party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a good way to help me.
Baby, I'm dancing with you tonight, and it feels fine. Feels fine. Baby, I'm dancing with you tonight. hoping for some time with you.